All right, welcome back to the Speak Truth Sports Podcast. I am Bert, and finally making his big return is
Trey, as always, I'm just glad to be back. So let's
yep,
get it.
yep. And we're gonna try and get a little more consistent for you guys, get some more consistent content out there, as well as increase the quality of our content. So if you want to help us out, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. But let's just jump right in. Today we're going to be talking about the NBA and the play-in tournament. It's all about that today because that's the big thing that's happening right now. And so let's just kick it off. We know exactly how everyone's seated now. Everything's set. And basically, what the play-in tournament is it's a competition to see who gets into the playoffs. So the 7 and 8 seed go against each other, and whoever wins that gets the 7 seed. Whoever loses gets another chance to play again. Whereas the 9 and 10 seed also play each other, but whoever wins that game gets the chance to try for the 8 seed against the loser of the 7-8 matchup. So it's a very, very interesting concept. It's new this year, and I think it's going to be really, really interesting, but we'll talk about all that later. So let's start with the West. So the Warriors and the Lakers are going to be the 7 and 8 seeds that are playing each other. Lakers being a 7 seed, Warriors being the 8 seed. And how do you feel about this? How do you think this game is going to go?
Well, it always concerns me because the Lakers have been really busted up this past few weeks, with LeBron's ankle injury, AD, trying to get back to the AD we all saw last year. I mean, he's showing spurts of it, but I don't know if it's consistent enough. Dennis Schroeder, he's been out for a while now, but I don't know. I mean, for them, this matchup, I don't think the Lakers. I don't know if they even won the season series against the Warriors this year. Um, it's really up in the air. But I think just maybe this game, I think the Lakers can find a way to still squeak one out. Even though Steph Curry's been on an absolute tear as of recent, and even securing the scoring title for the second time ever in his career. I just think the Lakers, if the stars are playing, I think if LeBron and AD can play just a level, to at least like 80%, I think they can get the Warriors. And I think they'll just just barely squeak out and win the first matchup.
So LeBron tweaked his ankle, and I was debating on, if he's probably going to play still. But I believe it was the same foot that he injured earlier. So to me, it's all dependent on, if LeBron's coming back like healthy, if he's good, if this ankle, he says it's nothing big, he says he's still going to play. But if it's something that's going to actually hinder him, I think the Warriors have a puncher's chance. Otherwise, I really don't see a way for the Lakers to lose this. They have such a well-rounded team. They have good defense on their guard positions as well as inside. They're not going to stop Steph Curry, but they can surely contain him or at least stop his teammates. Let Curry go off, let his teammates go cold. So then when that time comes in the clutch, you can lock up Curry, and his teammates probably going to miss because they're cold all game. The Lakers defense is it's too good. They're finally healthy. AD is a matchup nightmare. I mean, can anybody really guard that guy one-on-one? Like, the only person who has a chance is probably KD. But yeah, so I got the Lakers winning here. Let's go to the 9 and 10, the Grizzlies versus the Spurs. I'll kick this one off. So both these teams haven't been like super hot coming into this matchup, but the Grizzlies have been a little bit hotter than the Spurs. The Spurs have had a really bad last little stretch of the season. But at the same time, I don't want to count out Coach Popovich because he has that pedigree, he has that standing. But man, I mean, both times the Grizzlies and Spurs matched up, the Grizzlies just blew them out of the water. the Grizzlies really just they beat them pretty badly both times. And the Grizzlies are a really good defensive team. And we know that DeMar DeRozan's game gets less efficient in the playoffs, and that's not good. And if they can just find a way to shut him down just for, one game, that's all they need. I think the Grizzlies are going to pull this one off.
Yeah, my thing with the Spurs, they just have no momentum right now. They lost, the 4 games straight. Not in good fashions either. Pretty, most of them been by a substantial lead. They've been 2-8 in their last 10 games. They're really struggling. Even though the Grizzlies lost yesterday against the Warriors in the final game of this season, the Grizzlies to me are just a much more impressive team. They're over 500. Spurs are not even 500. I just think the Grizzlies have the better matchup between the two. And for me, as much as I love Coach Popovich, that team right now is just not playing where they should be and where they were. Because there was one period of time they were, it actually in the playoff mix. Now they barely made the play in, only 2 games above, the Pelicans and Kings. I'm just not impressed with them recently, and I just think they don't have enough to keep going. And I just think their season's going to end right here, right now.
Yeah, and I actually do want to correct myself. The Spurs actually did beat the Grizzlies back in December of 2020, but I'm not looking at 2020 games and stats just because so far removed from where we are now. Like those teams are totally, completely different teams. They didn't even have Jaren Jackson Jr. In that game. So, yeah. But the Grizzlies beat the Spurs 129-112 sometime in January. And then the Grizzlies beat the Spurs 133-102 back in February. So, I believe in the Grizzlies coach. I think he's a good coach, and I think he's really going to step up and show, prove his worth right here. Obviously, Popovich is one of the greatest coaches of all time, but this roster I'm not sure if it's good enough to make it in per se, or even get past this first game. So, I got the Grizzlies here.
Yeah.
Let's move on to what would end up being the next match after that, though. It would be the Warriors versus Grizzlies for both of us, I believe, right? So, how do you feel about the Warriors versus Grizzlies? Because I feel like the Warriors will just take them.
Well, we just saw last night. I just think that Steph Curry's going to heat up and when so much is on the line, I think Curry will definitely. He's the right guy at the right time. Even though a lot of people discredit him for letting other people step up in playoff games, and while he kind of takes the back seat, I just feel like the Warriors are where they are at because of him this season. He will not let them lose. He would literally drop 49 points in 29 minutes. Like he will not let this team lose. Like he is. People think he's even the MVP this season. I love Steph Curry's game. I appreciate his game a lot. I don't know if I want to get into MVP talks.
That's for another podcast.
Yeah, but he's playing out of his mind. He's playing, having a historic season, historic-like season. I just don't think he'll let this team go out so soon. So I just don't think the Grizzlies. I mean, I have nothing against Ja Morant and the Grizzlies, but we just saw him, beat them yesterday. I think he's going to do it again. So I got the Warriors.
The thing about that win that they had just yesterday was that the Grizzlies. The only reason they really came back was because the Warriors kind of lost focus and they were just kind of cruising because they thought they had won the game. That's not going to happen in the playoffs. In the playoffs, they're going to keep pushing and pushing, and they're not going to let up. So it might even be a blowout. I don't want to say it will be, but it might be a blowout. I really don't see the Grizzlies having a chance to win this. And so I say the Warriors win. They take the 8th seed there with the Lakers taking the 7. And we both agree on that.
Oh, yeah, most certainly.
All right, so let's jump to the East. The East is very interesting. A lot of these teams are really, really close with each other. The Wizards actually just straight up jumped to the 8th seed from the 10 spot just off of 1 win against the Hornets. So that should tell you how tight the race was there in the first place. But yeah, let's kick it off with the Wizards versus the Celtics. This is the Celtics are 7th seed, Wizards the 8th seed. And if you had told me at the beginning of the season that the Celtics would be the 7th seed, I would not have believed you.
I wouldn't have either. You want to kick it off, or you want me to kick it off?
Yeah. So here's my thing about I'm a Wizards fan. All right. So anything I say is biased, but the Celtics without Jaylen Brown, like I don't, with Jaylen Brown, honestly, I might pick the Celtics. I'm not even gonna lie, but without Jaylen Brown, like his his impact is so evident because he's been out. Like these past few games for the Celtics, like they've had 3 games since he's gone out where they haven't even scored above 100. Like, and scoring above 100 is like average in today's NBA. So, their offense has suffered. Their defense has certainly suffered. Their defense is not looking great at all right now. And the thing I noticed about the Celtics is that like all you really have to do to beat them is just play some semblance of defense, and then you will probably win because they will let you score, and they really can't stop many people. So, man, I'm gonna say the Wizards take it. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a blowout, but I think it's gonna be pretty close until the end, just because Beal and Tatum are childhood friends, childhood rivals. So they're going to be going at each other a lot. It's going to be really fun. But hey, I'm all for Celtics slander, so nothing would make me happier than seeing the Wizards knock the Celtics out of this spot. So,
this one's a hard one. I also enjoy the Wizards. That's my favorite team as well. I don't want to sound like a homer. It's just like you were saying, without Jaylen Brown, this team is much different. It's just pretty much how much can Jason Tatum score in order for us to win. That's what kind of seems like it has come to as of recent. They just don't look very motivated. They've been 4-6 in their last 10 games. They just lost their most recent game. The momentum is just not on their side. The Wizards are playing. This is just a different team in the last month compared to when they played a while back. The Wizards have been just on such a tear recently. With Beal back now, it's definitely puts them in a better position. I don't know, because you're talking about defense, and the one thing Wizards don't play is defense. But it has been slightly better, as like I said, because in this month alone, they've been playing much better. I still feel the Celtics have a solid enough team, but I think I might go with the Celtics just winning, just barely. But I still think the Wizards can definitely. This is probably their best opportunity to make it. But I think the Celtics gonna just squeak it out just barely, because defense is such a concern for me when it comes to the Wizards. I just don't know if they'll do enough. So I'm going. I guess I'm going Celtics, just barely Celtics though.
And also, I know Kemba went out towards the end of the season with like a neck injury, but is he? I'm not sure if he's coming back. If he does come back, what version of Kemba are you getting? That's also big. He's been, he's had kind of two sides of a coin. He's been really, really pretty decent, and he's been really, really not good. So, it's a lot. There's a lot to take in with the Celtics. There's a lot going on with them. Their interior defense is obviously a big issue, and Robin Lopez has become Kareem Abdul-Jabbar of the modern day.
Captain Hook.
His hook shots are unstoppable. The way he does it is crazy. He puts his left arm up to slap the other person's arm away, and then he just shoots with the right. I don't know how it's working for him, man. It's working for him, but he's probably going to eat in this game. I expect Daniel Gafford to eat in this game as well. I'm not sure if Kemba does play. If he does play, I'm not sure if that helps, just because I'm not sure if he's going to come back 100%. And if he's not 100%, if he's not rolling, this Wizard team is going to abuse him on defense, and they're gonna take him. So the Wizards actually, their defense isn't that bad. It's been pretty solid since the All-Star break. But ever since Denny Avdia went down, the defense has kind of gone down as well. We don't really have a defensive small forward right now besides maybe Bonga, but he doesn't get many minutes, so not much we can do there. But Raul Neto's been going crazy at small forward, so.
So I remember at the beginning of the season when you were getting mad about Raul Neto being played. Honestly,
I'm still mad about it. I don't want him as small forward, but
no, me either.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I'm going Celtics. Just barely though.
Yeah. You're going Celtics?
I don't want to, but I think they'll squeak it. I just think that Tatum, he's been their guy. We don't have an answer at the small forward position. Like you said, they don't play Bonga much minutes. He's our best defensive small forward. I just think he'll go off, and I think that'll just be enough. Like I said, I don't enjoy saying this, but I've watched a lot of Wizards games in my life. The coaching is not there. Simple adjustments probably won't be made until it's too late. I'm just concerned with the coaching. I just feel like if Tatum heats up just enough, I think it'll just be enough to lift them. So I'm going, unfortunately, Celtics for this one.
I'm gonna go Wizards. I'm going to Wizards, and I'm saying this because who is really going to stop Westbrook and Beal from getting theirs? I mean, Kemba is a liability on defense. Marcus Smart's a really good defender, but he can only guard one of the two. So, who are you going to put him on? And like I said earlier, the interior, just, I think Washington wins that. I think in terms of just straight up matching up their positions, I think Washington's stronger at every single one, except for small forward, which is where Tatum is. And he can also play power forward as well. But yeah, I think the Wizards have enough bodies to handle Tatum at least. Tatum's, he's sometimes been inconsistent in the postseason. So I'm not sure if he fixes that here or if he continues those struggles. But, I'm going to say that I'm going to say the Wizards win. I'm going to say it's going to be close, though, just because the Wizards always end up going to overtime somehow. Wizards have gone to overtime in like 7 of their last 10 games or something like that, probably.
It feels like
it's a crazy stat.
It definitely feels that way.
But yeah, I am concerned about the coaching, like you said. But at the same time, it should be easy. like I feel like this matchup should be easy enough for Scott Brooks to just be like, okay, let me just do this, and that's it. All right, let's jump to in my opinion, the toughest game to predict, because this is just, it's gonna be very, very good. It's gonna be a really good game. Pacers and Hornets. Who do you want to kick this off? Who do you think is gonna take it?
Oh man, this one's hard. The Hornets haven't been playing their best basketball as of recent. They lost 5 straight. They've been 3-7 in their last 10 games. And, they're playing on the road, and they have not been good on the road. They have a 15-21 record on the road, which is not ideal for a situation like this. But on the flip side, the Pacers lose most of their games at home. They're 13-23 on the season when they're at home. It's a hard one, even though the Hornets have been losing recently and the Pacers won their most recent game. I think the talent goes deeper. It's much deeper on the Hornets side. I just don't know what fell apart for the Pacers this season. If they can get people clicking at the right time, if they can get the guards going, Rozier, LaMelo, Graham, if they can get all 3 of those guys going, because it feels like one of those guys, always one of them struggle when the other 2 are up, or someone always struggles. I just think, but for me, if they can get all 3 of those guys going, I got to go Hornets. The Pacers, it's really just up to Caris LeVert and Sabonis to play their best ball. I feel like everyone else, I mean, McConnell's pretty solid off the bench as well, but everyone else feels like they've been kind of lackluster as of recent. It's been really up to those 2. And I like that duo, but it's just not enough. I feel like there's so much more talent on the Hornets side. And, even I would say the coaching's been better on the Hornets side. Yeah, the record doesn't really show it, but, it's a young team. And the fact that this team made such a jump from last season when everyone thought they were kind of rough, but they saw, glimmers of talent and potential. I feel like they're just starting. And I feel like this is just the start, the proper start. And I just feel like the Hornets, for me, I'm going with the Hornets. I like their energy more. As bad as their record is away, it's still better than the Pacers' record at home. So I'm feeling the Hornets in this situation.
Yeah, I really want to pick the Hornets too. This game is just going to be a shootout, just in general. Neither of these 2 teams play defense. I mean, just listen to the Pacers last few games. Pacers Wizards 141-154. Pacers Hawks 126-133. Pacers Wizards 133-132. Pacers Bucks 133-142. Pacers Raptors 125-113. Neither of these teams play defense. The Hornets actually play better defense, I'd say, than the Pacers. which is why I wanted to pick them. But at the same time, Malcolm Brogdon's coming back for the Pacers. And if he can just be average, if he can just be somewhat normal, somewhat himself, I think the Pacers can squeak it out. I'm going to be rooting for the Hornets. And they were originally my pick, but now that I'm looking at it, I mean, like, who's really going to stop Sabonis? You know, he's gonna go crazy. He didn't go crazy in the last meetup, but that's a different story. I don't know. I think the Hornets have a really good chance of winning this game. But just to mix things up a little, I'm gonna pick the Pacers. And so let's jump into. Oh, do you want to say something on it?
No, it's like I mean, we'll see. I guess we'll have to see about that. But definitely for me, I'm feeling the Hornets.
Yeah. I'm definitely feeling the Hornets too. But the Pacers, at the same time, the Pacers got Karis LeVert, they got Malcolm Brogdon back, they got Sabonis, they got TJ McConnell. I mean, they've got a lot of pieces, a lot of talent, and they got way more experience than the Hornets, which could, you know, push them over the top. But obviously, without Miles Turner, their defense just
has not been the same.
Not good. Let's jump into both of our matchups right there. So you got the Wizards going against the Pacers.
Hornets.
You said the wait.
I had the Hornets winning.
Oh yeah, because Hornets. Yeah, my bad. Yeah. So Wizards against Hornets. So who wins that one for you?
I mean, hey man, Bill's back. They just played them recently. They won that game. That's what I'm saying. I feel the Wizards are going to make the play-in. They're going to make the playoffs. I think the Wizards got this. I think the Wizards can do it again. As long as the Wizards are at home as well, I think the Wizards will probably, beat out the Hornets because they do have a winning record at home, to my knowledge. So I feel like the Wizards, like I said, like you said, the duo of Bill and Westbrook is so talented, and they're one of the highest scoring duos in the NBA right now. They're definitely top 10.
They're second,
high scoring. They're second. Wow. They're talented. I know what's it called. Even if you get to the high scoring trios of Bill, Westbrook, and Bertans, I saw that somewhere. They're top 10. So for me personally, as long as those two do what they do, Bill scores, Russ does everything, I just feel like they're gonna do what they did Sunday. They're gonna finish off the Hornets, and I just feel like for me, I always saw the Wizards somehow making the playoffs after they made the play-in. Because they've beaten the Pacers, they've beaten the Hornets, and they've beaten the Celtics all this season. So they won the season series against the Pacers. I think they won the season series against the Hornets. And I know they lost the season series against the Celtics, but that's when they had Jaylen Brown. That one's going to be a close one. But I just think that the Wizards, the momentum, there's so much momentum on their side. Out of all the teams, they have the best record in the last 10 games. They're 6-4 in the last 10 games. All the other teams are either 5-5 or lower than that on the last 10 games. So the Wizards have momentum. I don't see a reason for them to just choke and not make the playoffs at this point. If they don't make the playoffs, it's solely, I'm going to be that guy. It's solely on the coach at this point because talent's always been there for the Wizards. It's just how they use it. And I just feel like there's no reason for them to lose against the Hornets. So I got the Wizards making it as the 8th seed.
Yeah, I mean, the Wizards they're just one of the hottest teams coming into the play-in tournament in general. And yeah, I'd say if the Wizards Hornets match up, it's going to be a close game like the last one was for sure. But a lot of players played bad on the Wizards end, and they still pulled out the win. So yeah, if the Wizards and Hornets match up, I think I agree with you. The Wizards will take it, and I'd actually prefer that. I actually don't want to see the Wizards get the 7th seed because I don't want the Nets to sweep them. Which, look, they'll probably win like one game, but it's not going to be much of a series unless somebody gets injured, and we can't really account for that. But I think the Wizards have a better chance against the Sixers. But we'll talk about. I only say this because Simmons doesn't do amazing in the playoffs, especially offensively.
That's fair.
Because he Embiid and Simmons are injury prone. So if one of them gets hurt, that could open up a little gateway for the Wizards. I'm not hoping any of them gets hurt or wishing on it, but if it happens, they are injury prone. If it happens, I think the Wizards have a better chance of taking that series. But we'll talk about that in a future podcast. Where we go over our playoff predictions. But for now, I want to talk about the Celtics versus the Pacers. I really don't have any idea who's going to win this game. If Kemba's back once again, which Kemba is going to show up? I don't know. The Celtics offense is still good. It's their defense that's a concern. Like who's gonna stop Sabonis? Like I really don't see anybody stopping Sabonis. I think honestly, I'm gonna go with it, man. I'm gonna say the Pacers. I'm gonna say the Pacers win it. I have the Celtics missing just because of their injuries. If they were more healthy, I'd probably pick them. The Pacers, they just have a lot of talent, and it's gonna be Sabonis versus Tatum basically. And to me, it's like, who do I trust more in a very intensive situation? I'd probably lean Sabonis a little bit more, just because, like I said, in the past, Tatum's been a little bit inconsistent in the playoffs. He'll have one really good game, then one really bad game, or at least inefficient game, not necessarily bad, but inefficiency with this Celtics offense, with all the pieces they're missing or all the pieces that are playing hurt, it could sink them. It could really sink them. And so, yeah, I'm gonna go Pacers. I mean, they got Malcolm Brogdon back, and he's probably gonna limit Kemba a lot, even if Kemba is back to normal. So I'm gonna go Pacers there. I also want to discuss Celtics Hornets because I think this has a good chance of happening too. Celtics Hornets, it's going to be another shootout. Like I said, both these teams don't really play that much defense, but I'm actually also going to pick the Hornets here. In my opinion, I think the Celtics are just straight up going to miss the playoffs in general. The Hornets just have a great array of guards at their disposal, and they can, whoever's hot, they'll play. So, and LaMelo's back. That's been helping the Hornets a lot. My only issue with the Hornets is that they're not really great in clutch situations. They kind of choked against the Wizards really badly. They missed like 5 open layups in a row, which is like, thank God. As a Wizards fan, it's like, oh, thank God. But if they had hit those, the Wizards would definitely have lost, and they would be like the 10th seed right now. Like I said, like Jaylen Brown just has such an impact on this team. Without Jaylen Brown, like this team's offense and defense greatly suffers. And so if Jaylen Brown was here, like I said, I'd probably pick the Celtics to beat the Wizards in their first game. They probably wouldn't even been in the 7th seed if Jaylen Brown ever got injured. So yeah, I mean, I think the Celtics I don't think they're going to make it no matter who they face. I think all these teams can beat them realistically. The best chance is probably against the Pacers, just because the Pacers defense is, like I said, it's horrendous. And if Tatum just goes crazy, like I said, he has one bad game and one really good game. If his really good game is against the Pacers, which it probably will be, the Celtics have a really good shot there. But other than that, I think the Hornets can take him, and I think the Wizards take him. So that's my bold take of the podcast. I think the Celtics can playoffs. That's my take.
That's interesting. I mean, it's very possible, like I said, with the injury of Jaylen Brown, but I guess we'll have to see. And it starts tomorrow, Tuesday, so it's going to be interesting to see how that happens.
In reality, I just really want to root against the Celtics. All right.
Yeah, I feel that.
I just really want to
feel that.
But yeah, let's jump to talking about the play-in in general. So a lot of players have been kind of complaining. A lot of people have been also debating this. But is the NBA play-in a mistake? Do you want to kick it off?
I'll kick it off. For me, for how I see it, if you're looking at a consumer standpoint, no, I think the play-in tournament is good. If you see it from the business standpoint, it's good. Back to the consumer standpoint, how they pretty much see it is like just more basketball. And more basketball obviously means more revenue because the viewership and all that stuff. You look at it from the NBA standpoint, like the business aspect. It keeps the intensity throughout the whole season. Like these last few games, all these games mattered, and all these teams played their heart out. Think about last night. Think about the Trailblazers versus Nuggets. This man, Damian Lillard, played well, and the Trailblazers played well to beat the Nuggets, and now they are the 6th seed. They saved the dude's house, the dude who bet his house for 42 wins.
Actually, he didn't bet his house. He was greatly over exaggerating. He sent a picture of his bet. It was only $260.
Well, it's more than basketball, regardless. That bet was still, the narrative was still there, and I thought that was really interesting. But it's just like these teams played so hard these last few games. It was enjoyable to watch. Usually at this point in the season, most teams are starting to play their bench. They're chilling out, kind of just going through the motions and stuff like that, which is not the most interesting from a consumer standpoint and all that. So it's good in that aspect, but for me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the play-in tournament. I don't want to call it a mistake, but I don't think it's all right for me. More than half the teams make the playoffs in the NBA, 16 out of 30. That's more than 50%. But 20 teams, but it just opens too much for, I don't want to say mediocrity, but like teams like the Spurs, 33 and 39, they're so far removed, and just to see them, if they win, get lucky, win 2 games in a row and make the 8th seed just to play the Jazz. I just feel like that's a waste of a series. I don't think the Spurs really do too much against the Jazz. I don't know how well they'll even match up against the Jazz. And even on the flip side, let's say if the Pacers or the Hornets make it and they play against the Nets or the Sixers, I think that's either a gentleman's sweep or a sweep. And plus, as a Wizards fan, imagine if the Wizards made the 8th seed and that's just it. Like, that would have been just so nice and just go into the playoffs. But now that's in jeopardy. I just feel like, because I just don't like the concept of you work so hard and then if you lose 2 games straight, you can be the 7th seed and you lose 2 games straight, it's over. And you're the better, and you're the better team, and we all know you're the better team, but you just weren't the better team that day. Basketball's a sport where playoffs are made to be series, and that's what makes basketball for me. I just think stuff like one and done kind of games, leave that to games, the team, like sports where it makes more sense. Like football, if that was played in series, I don't think that would be very good in my opinion. But like for basketball, it's so interesting, like these teams matching up multiple times over and over. I just don't know how much of a fan I am of all this. It's like I said, it's good for more basketball and all that, but just the competitiveness, I don't want to see bad teams upset better teams and then make it into a spot just to do nothing. I feel like they're stealing spots and just wasting time. That's how I kind of feel about the play-in tournament. To call it a mistake, no, but is it good? I don't know. I
completely disagree with you on every point.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You can disagree with me. I understand, but I'll let you, speak your part then.
Okay, so here's my thing about the play-in tournament. Like you said, it keeps games interesting all the way up until the final games. But I like you also said, I also understand where the players are coming from, where they're kind of upset about this because they work hard at this and they have to put it in jeopardy. But at the same time, what harm does this really do? It's just the 7 and 8 seeds. Like, how many times have a 7 and 8 seed gone on to win a championship? Like, maybe what was it, like once with Hakeem? Or was that from the 6th?
No, I think the highest was the 6th seed to ever win the finals.
Exactly. So no 7 or 8 seeds ever won the championship. So I believe didn't the Knicks make it to the finals as an 8 seed once?
I think so. I think it was a 7 or 8 seed.
That was due to a lot of injuries and stuff, though. But at the same time, like I said, 7 and 8 seeds don't matter that much. So here's the solution to some of these problems, right? Every season there's a team that does really good at the beginning, like really good, and then gets injured or like messed up in some way, and then they start really sucking all the way to the end of the season. But they always manage to just slip in there right into the 8 or 7 seed. On the flip side, there's always a team that's going crazy that started off the season really bad, but it's going crazy hot now and is really pushing to make the playoffs, but they just barely miss it because that other team like wins a game or something. The Suns were like undefeated in the bubble. And you know what would have been great? If they had a play-in tournament, the Suns would have made it in. And we would have gotten to see more exciting basketball. We would have gotten to see the Suns go up against the Lakers. That would have been an exciting series. See Devin Booker and Kelly Oubre and all them just try and go as hard as they can to beat this team. That would have been so exciting to see. So in my opinion, I think the play-in tournament's fantastic. I think, if you look back on every season, there's always that one team that you're like, I just wish they made the playoffs. I just wish they made it because they would have been so good. And this team above them sucks. Like they should not be here compared to this team below them. And it also gives teams hope to make the playoffs. The Wizards, in my opinion, would not be the 8 seed right now if they didn't have the hope of getting to the 10 seed. If they didn't have that hope that we could still make it, we could still just barely make it, they probably would have just been in the lottery this season. But they had that hope that they could make it in just by sliding into the playoff tournament, and that kept them going all the way to the end of the season, and they eventually actually got to 8, which is crazy. But yeah, honestly, to me, it just kind of feels like March Madness, and that's one of my favorite things about basketball is March Madness, just because how crazy it is and the upsets and all that. I don't think there's going to be as many upsets as you might think. I think most of the time, I'd say the 7 or 8 seeds are going to be the 7 or 8 seeds. Maybe they're switch spots or something like that. But I think for the most part, it's going to be the 7 or 8 seeds taking those spots anyways. And they're at a big advantage. They only have to win one game to get in, and they have 2 opportunities to do it. The 9 and 10 seed have to win 2 games in a row just to get in. So if the team above them really is better, they're going to treat this like a playoff game, which it should be treated. It is treated as a postseason game, so none of these stats count to regular season. But if the team really is better, they'll win. Like they'll find a way to win, or at least they should. And if they're a really exciting team that you want to watch, usually they're a higher seed, and at the same time, this encourages higher seeds to do better. So usually when people get mixed up in the 5, 6, 7, it's like we're kind of playing for matchups at this point. Maybe trying to purposely lose a couple games just to avoid somebody. But that's neither here nor there. But now, if you're at the 7 or 6, you're like, we got to keep winning. We got screw the matchup. I don't want to be in the play-in. I don't want the chance of getting kicked out. Screw the matchup. We just got to keep going. And so that's going to make those matches a little more heated, a little more just bring more energy to those matchups, and give teams just more incentive to keep winning. And I understand if like the players complain about, well, we worked really hard this season, we got the 7 seed, like we deserve our spot. But at the same time, like you're a 7 seed, like if you want to secure a spot, look, just try and move up. Like I know it's not that simple, but like if you want your spot, go harder, play better. Like I don't really know what to say. Like just go for it at that point. Like I said, it's just, to me, it feels like March Madness, and that's my favorite part of or that's my favorite like time of basketball is watching March Madness. And so anything that even resembles that in the NBA, I would really enjoy. And I don't think it does that much harm. For me, the question is, how are lottery odds going to work out? If the 7 seed loses, is it going to be by record? So are they going to get the 14th best odds, or are they going to take the spot of whoever took? I don't know. I don't know how any of that works, but that's the part that's kind of a little confusing to me. But honestly, I love the NBA play-in tournament. I think it's fantastic. I think it should be here to stay, and I think the ratings will be crazy high. And Adam Silver will be like, "Look, we're going to keep it," and so. I think they're going to keep it. I think it's going to stick around. And yeah, I love it, in my opinion.
I mean, I know how the NBA has been wanting to try to incorporate like a tournament into the league for a while. just like how soccer, like many European soccer leagues incorporate tournaments into their season. Uh, I mean, for me, like I said, I'm just worried about. I was worried about the competitiveness and all that stuff. I mean, like I said, it does bring a lot more. It does keep the last few games interesting, and just points you were making about making like teams less worried about matchups, more worried about just making it. I feel like that also keeps it very interesting as well. Like I said, I was just concerned. Like my biggest thing is just I just don't know. I just I just don't like the concept of just these lesser teams having like there's an incentive like this is just playing hard enough. 10th seeds. I like for me, I just don't want to see like a 10th seed making it as like 7th seed and then just get smoked. I just that's my concern. I guess we'll have to just see this season how the play-in tournament, goes. Maybe I'll definitely, change my perspective if the 10th seed makes it and then they actually play well against one of the higher seeds. But for now, I'm gonna be a bit of a pessimist. For now, but I'm definitely open and willing to change my mind if the play-in tournament does work in the best way possible, where we can see all these things happening. Because you did make a good point with the Suns last season. I really wish that they made it over the Grizzlies in that opportunity, and then the Grizzlies played the Trailblazers. Trailblazers made it in, got gentleman sweep of the Lakers, and that was kind of rough. So I guess we'll have to see. Like I said, I'll keep my eyes and ears open for this season and this play-in tournament coming up. But right now, I don't know if this is a mistake. This is just one of those things like we'll have to see its full fruition. So.
Yeah, and you do make a solid point about what if the better team loses, but at the same time, if the Spurs win 2 in a row and get in, did the teams that they beat even deserve to be in at that point? Like losing to a team like the Spurs twice, or it would be once, but losing to a team like the Spurs and letting them get in, like, would they have done anything in their seed as well? Like, I don't like. I feel like there's not much impact either way. Like, no matter what teams get in there, obviously, I think that one of the 2 seeds are almost 90% of the time going to win. There's an exception with the Lakers, but we'll talk about that on another podcast. Yeah, like Lakers are the only real exception I can really think of right now. Maybe the Warriors sneak one out against the Jazz, and I really doubt it. But it'll at least be an interesting series. And if like I said, if the team's really good, like if it really is better, they should win. And if they don't, it's like, well, like what can I say? Like you should have won. Like this, you should treat this as a playoff game. You need to win it. If you can't win this, are you even going to make any noise against the team you're going against in the playoffs? Like, I don't know. It's an interesting debate on that.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and talk about something that really hits near and dear. What is Scott Brooks' future with the Wizards?
I think you should start this one off.
Okay. So I want to start this off by saying Scott Brooks went from a completely horrible coach at the beginning of the season to a somewhat competent at times head coach of the Wizards. But there's something, that tells me he's probably going to come back. And I'd say it's probably going to be a 2-year deal just to kind of coincide with Westbrook's deal. I think he's going to get a 2-year extension. He has a lot going in his favor in terms of making his case. The Wizards were very injured at the beginning of the season, and they didn't disclose that Russell Westbrook was injured. So it was like, that's a whole nother debate. I'm very mad about that. But, they didn't disclose Russell Westbrook was injured, but he was, and he was playing really bad. And a lot of the team just wasn't meshing well, and the rotations were horrible, and players were getting minutes that didn't deserve minutes, or maybe they were just getting minutes randomly. There was no clear path to getting minutes, and I think there's still not really a clear path to getting minutes in Scott Brooks' rotation. I have no idea what if I was a player there, I would probably still be confused on what gets me minutes because it seems like he just kind of assigns them at random. But yeah, Daniel Gafford needs to start at some point, please,
I agree.
because he has been amazing. He has been incredible. So, and he's also a great dude. So I really think he deserves it. But my thing with Scott Brooks is that his rotations still suck. They still suck. He's still playing Raul Neto and Ish Smith at small forward when they really shouldn't be there in the first place. I get that, we don't really have many small forwards on the roster right now. But at the same time, maybe Garrison Matthews would be better in those scenarios. They have worked out, and part of that is just due to how much energy Neto and Ish Smith bring because they know that they are undermatched, they're undersized, and they have to compensate by just going all out and going crazy. I mean, Ish Smith last night looked like a Mighty Mouse, or something, So Ish Smith was going crazy. So I don't have a problem if my only problem is if you put three non-shooting point guards together. So if you have like a Russ, Neto, Ish Smith lineup, like I hate seeing that because Neto, while he can't hit the three, he's not great at it. He's pretty average at it. And while Ish Smith, his shot has gotten better, he's still a little bit below average on that. And Westbrook, either he's hitting or he's not. It's every night it's either he's hitting the threes or he's not hitting the threes. So you don't know what you're going to get with him. I have a big problem with that lineup. I think that lineup is horrible. But if Beal's out there, it kind of mitigates it a little bit. And Westbrook's just so good at, he's been having such an amazing season. And he's just been so good at getting rebounds that to an extent, it kind of feels like he's the small forward.
Yeah.
He even I think he's averaging more rebounds than our center right now. He's averaging, I think, more rebounds than a lot of center. I think more than Giannis, more than Joel Embiid. Like he's averaging a lot of rebounds. But the thing about Scott Brooks is that, if you go to the Wizards Instagram and you kind of scroll down a bit, it's going to be a little while, but you will see a post that's like inside the huddle on the win on this night. And every single time it's Scott Brooks sitting down, just drawing something that like you can't really even like make out. That he's not talking much. He's just kind of saying, Russ, you get the ball and then you pass to Beal and then Rui, if nothing's happening, you go do something. Like he literally said, like, if nothing's happening, do something. Like, okay. It just kind of feels like, maybe, I think he's a good guy. I think Scott Brooks is a good person. I don't wish any ill will upon him, but man, like say something like make some type of plan. Like he's just kind of, a lot of the out of bounds plays are horrible. The out of bounds plays are absolutely horrible for Washington, disgusting to watch. Every single out of bounds play I watch is a pass to Russ or Beal, and that's it. And then they're just like, okay, do something. And that's what they're doing the entire time. And also in those huddles, the reason Scott Brooks isn't talking much is because Westbrook's telling everyone what to do. He's like, Rui, you need to do this. You need to make this adjustment. You need to do this. Beal, Brad, you need to focus on him a little more. Denny, if he blows by you, like make sure you still stay on him to help. He's talking to the players and telling them what to do. And Scott Brooks is just kind of drawing on his whiteboard the entire time. It's almost comical. He's sitting back and kind of letting Russ coach the team. At least that's my outsider's perspective. Yeah, I in my opinion, if you ask me, should Scott Brooks come back? No, because I don't think he brings the best out of all of our players combined. But at the same time, Russell Westbrook really likes him. They're really good. They're really good friends. They're close. And Russ had he defended Scott Brooks, I believe, right after the last game, or I think right before it or something, where he said, quote, "Players get a lot of credit because we're on the floor, but behind the scenes, Scotty is one heck of a coach. Not just that, a person. He does an amazing job making sure we've got all of our stuff together," Westbrook said. If it wasn't for him and his ability to be able to make decisions on the fly, make the right calls, and put the right guys in and out of the game and put us in the right place to be successful, a lot of this stuff wouldn't be happening. All the outside noise doesn't really matter because honestly, we know how important he is, and I know how important he is to myself and to the team. That sounds like he's getting a 2-year extension. which in my opinion, depending on how much noise the Wizards make, if they make playoffs, I think he'll get the extension. If they somehow drop the next 2 games, he's gone for sure. He's 100% gone. Would I prefer that? I don't know. I'm to the part of the season where maybe long term, yeah, probably would be good. Just drop these 2 games. But right now, I want to see some Wizards basketball in the playoffs. All right. So, yeah, man. I mean, I don't want Scott Brooks back. It's looking very likely he's going to come back. I know Troy Brown Jr. After he got traded was taking shots at Scott Brooks. He was saying that he never knew how to get minutes in his rotation, and he's right. And that's what I was been saying too. I was like, I don't know what gets you minutes, because early in the season, Garrison Matthews had a game-winning steal and then didn't play for the next 3 games. He literally did not play for the next 3 games, even though he won the game by getting a steal against the Nets earlier in the season. He made that crucial steal, crucial defensive possession. He didn't play. I don't understand how that works at all. I don't know how Jerome Robinson got upgraded to starter over everybody else on the roster, because he had to play like a minute of Wizards basketball before that. He's actually off the team now. So yeah, wishing the best for Jerome there. But at the same time, like I said, I just feel like he has a good case to make to the GM and the owner to keep him around. He has a lot of excuses to put forth, like the injuries and COVID, and it's not a normal season, to where he could get a 1 to 2 year extension. And I think he will, but I don't want him to. I wish the best for Scott Brooks, but I do not want him to get an extension. I just think it wouldn't be the best choice for the team.
Yeah, you had a lot to say, and I agree with pretty much everything you said. My biggest thing with Scott Brooks, and this is what I've heard from other people. If you go through like Instagram comments on, a lot of other teams, I always have to see what everyone thinks about their coaches and stuff like that, and how people feel about their situations. Scott Brooks is, according to some people on the internet, it's kind of like a Terry Stotts, where they're not a very good coach, but they're stars, and their star players really like that coach, and they kind of make things happen, and that's why their coach is still in the position that they are. Because without Dave Lillard and CJ McCollum, I don't think Terry Stotts would be doing too much right now, and I don't think he'd even be employed right now if it wasn't for those two backing him up and on and off the court, quite frankly. And Scott Brooks has always been this way. He had Durant, Serge Ibaka, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. Those individuals carried him to the finals and made him look so good as a coach. It was always the talent that made Scott Brooks look so good. Because when the Wizards went down, when they were down Beal and the bubble last year, and when Beal was not there and they just had all the young players, that team was atrocious. They only won 1 game, and it was against pretty much the Celtics G League team, because they really didn't play anybody in that game. He doesn't know how to coach young talent. He can't build up young talent. He has to be carried by his star players. In particular, Russell Westbrook carries him the most, because when Beal was by himself, pretty much it seems like at times they couldn't win games, even if Beal was scoring 30 plus points, and he's dropping career highs and losing. I think that wasn't really on Beal. You can't really put too much on him. He could only do so much. He's one player. And I know the NBA is a very star-driven sport, but at the end of the day, basketball is a team sport. One guy can't score 50 points and, we're going to win the game because he scored 50 points. We cannot do anything else. We'll just, that's it. He doesn't motivate the team enough. He doesn't play, players to their best ability, like Deni Avdija. He struggled a lot because, like we said in earlier podcasts, Scott Brooks tries to play him as a catch and shoot kind of guy, while his best attribute is playmaking. It's really hard to watch. For me, how I still see it to this day, Russell Westbrook is our coach. There's way too many clips, way too many huddles, way too much footage where I see Russell Westbrook literally coaching Rui Hachimura. He's literally coaching these players, telling players where to go. And like you're saying, Scott Brooks is just sitting there writing plays. He could be just doodling at this point. I don't even know. It's just, it's so much. It's like the Wizards have so much talent, and people don't want to say it because oh, the Wizards are bad, the Wizards are this. The Wizards have a lot of talent. Think about next season when Thomas Bryant comes back, and if they can still keep Daniel Gafford and Robin Lopez, that's a lot of depth for the center position. And Thomas Bryant, he can rebound, he can play solid enough defense, he can shoot. That's a lot of depth right there for the center position, which is something we had not seen in a long time. And they can get Denny Avdia back and healthy. That's a small forward back again. Like there is talent on this team. This team can, as we can see right now, they can be a playoff team. It's just the coaching. And, how I see it, if they do re-sign Scott Brooks, this team will not be elevated to the next level. He will just get by. He'll just do enough to keep his job. Because if you look at his time with the Wizards, his 5 seasons with the Wizards, his best season was his first season. Second season was pretty solid. But as you look at the records, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then when he's on the hot seat and he needs to step up, they do step up just for him to get potentially extended again. And what we're going to expect next year, he might just go back to being, we might go back to being bad again because he's complacent. He's just doing what he can to stay. And, I know Russ, that's his guy, that's his coach. And I understand, Bill thinks very highly of him. I understand the front office thinks very highly of him. But if we're not winning anything with this much talent, then you got to notice that the problem is still there. It's like you just got to look at it as simple as possible. If one person's consistent, you keep bringing all these people in, and we still keep losing, or things really aren't going further, then the problem is the thing that's been consistent, and it's been consistently Scott Brooks. And I don't. This team is not a developing team like we thought they were going to be this season. Everyone thought that once Wall got shipped out, everyone thought, and Russell Westbrook was playing kind of rough. I thought this team would probably go into like just rebuild mode. Russell just going to play his heart out. And, it is what it is. But the team, like, they're in contention to make the playoffs. So with them being a playoff level team, Scott Brooks is no longer needed because he's not, in my opinion, he's not a coach where I can see he's going to push these players to the next level, because he hasn't. And even when the team was developing, he did not help in that process. He was just kind of there in that process. And, it hurts because, like you were saying, as much as I want to see more Wizards basketball. I want to see Wizards playoff basketball. But do I want to see Scott Brooks there next season? No. I'm so torn, it hurts. And I don't want to ever wish my team not to make the playoffs because of a coach or something like that. But I don't know how much more Scott Brooks coaching I can stomach. It's really hard to watch such simple rotations and simple things not be made. Like, I don't want to see Davis Bertans in the last possession when defense is needed, when we're up like 1 and then they're going to pass their best shooter and, Davis Bertans is guarding them. Like, he's one of the worst defenders on our team. And as of recent, he hasn't been shooting the best either. I don't want to call him a liability just yet, but he's not worth the $80 million that I thought he was going to be like last season. Last season, he was automatic. This season, he's like semi-automatic. And it's been kind of hard for me to just see simple things like that. Like, and, not even being able to see, see simple rotations and simple things be made. Like Daniel Gafford should be in there in more clutch time moments. So it's just been so difficult, and I just don't know how to feel about all this. As a Wizards fan, you really do want to see your team succeed, but but what will it cost us, to see them succeed? Like, I really don't want to see him back. No offense to him. He's a good, like you said, he's a good guy. Yeah, I wish him the best, but I don't know how much more this team can endure. Wasting out two players' primes. I mean, I guess Russ is still in his prime, but Bill's about to get into his prime at the age 26, 27. I just don't know. I really just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this team has, in my opinion, has a talent and the potential talent to even possibly make, second round, maybe Eastern Conference Finals. And that won't happen under Scott Brooks, in my opinion. But, that's why, like you said, like, I don't really know if he elevates the team as much. I'm not sure. It feels like there's a big disconnect between the general manager, Tommy Shepard, and Scott Brooks, because Tommy Shepard gets certain types of players for Scott Brooks, and Scott Brooks doesn't really know how to use them. So he kind of fits them into a role they're not used to. Like Denny Avdia and like Troy Brown Jr. They're multi-positional wings, but the way Scott Brooks uses them is that he just kind of makes them sit in the corner and shoot threes, and that's it. I really think Denny should be allowed to handle the ball more, even if that means making him come off the bench. I mean, sure, go for it. Or maybe he starts the game and comes out early so he can come back with the bench in the second quarter or something like that. There's a lot of simple adjustments you can make to try and get every player comfortable and get them to be the best at their game possible. I feel like Scott Brooks doesn't really work that hard to do that. He's just kind of like, well, it's Russ and Brad, you guys just kind of have to do this. That's it. Like, this is your role. Like, you have to do this. When he could be like, okay, we're going to try and tailor this around you and around everybody else so everybody is happy. I feel like there's going to be some frustration if Denny doesn't, if he doesn't improve his three-point shooting as much. There's definitely going to be a lot of frustration. I hate to say it, I could probably see him being traded in a couple years, like Troy Brown Jr. was, which is sad because I think Denny still has a lot of potential, in my opinion, as in the NBA. And he's our best defensive wing right now. He's our best defender at the small forward or power forward position. He's our best defender. So, it's stuff like that it's like, I don't want Scott. I kind of want Scott Brooks gone because I don't want to impede any of our young guys' development. In a sense, I kind of want a coach that will figure out what they're best at and then try and use them in their best way to try and win a game. And I just don't feel like Scott Brooks does that. It's just simple as that. I just feel, I feel like he tries too much to fit a square peg into a round hole with a lot of young players, and it hasn't really been helping us. So yeah, Scott Brooks, hey man, you're a great guy. I hope you get a job somewhere else. I heard the Pacers might have an opening after this season.
Yeah.
So, why don't you go ahead and you should go ahead and try it with them, Scott. I think they'd like you. Sabonis is a great player. I think, you really like to have him. I think you should definitely go for the Pacers.
Yeah. I mean, he has like some established talent over there. So, you don't have to worry about too many young players right now. Do what you want to do. And
now, but also in terms of like who I'd want to replace him with, I got no idea. I haven't done much research into that because I feel like at this point it's an inevitability that he's going to get an extension. But, Kenny Atkinson is a name that comes up a lot in, different Wizards comment sections, stuff like that. I think he'd do good with his team. I'm not sure if he'd elevate us. He'd obviously elevate us more than Scott Brooks would, in my opinion, but I'm not sure if he would elevate us even further beyond that. It is tough finding a really good coach. It's really tough. I'm not sure if any of our assistant coaches are good enough to jump up to a head coach. I don't know. Wizards in a prickly situation with their head coach.
Yeah, I mean, at one point I was killing Kenny Atkinson because I thought we were going to be like a more developmental team, but just in the past month, I just feel like at this point, I feel like we need a different kind of coach, a coach that could push us to the next level. Yeah. And right now, honestly, on the market, there's not too many coaches like that. I know people always say Mark Jackson is a coach, but we literally saw him not be able to push the Warriors to the next level, and then Steve Kerr literally got the same team, took that team to multiple finals. Obviously, added addition of star players later on, but they did win that first ring with just the players, pretty much that Mark Jackson had. And just for me, I gotta do a lot more research when it comes to coaches. I don't know how many coaches out there can deal with some personalities like Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal's they're not too big of personalities, but
they're not egotistical. They're they're pretty like, but at the same time, Russ is like the alpha.
Definitely
the leader, and you kind of have to let him say his piece. But at the same time, as a coach, you have to say your piece. I feel like Scott Brooks doesn't say anything. That's just that's just what I see. Like,
I just don't know. I just don't know how far this team will go, and I don't know. Like I said, I personally don't want Scott Brooks back after the season, but I feel like he has such a good relationship with, like I said, those 2-star players in the front office. Like, it just feels at this point inevitable for him to get extended at least to the extent of Russell Westbrook's career contract. So something to keep an eye on, but I just really hope that they can figure out something, because this team is too talented to go through the same roadblocks over and over when the same problem is still there. So
yeah, a team with 2 all-stars should not be a first-round exit. It's just typically. But yeah, that's going to do it for the Speak Truth Sports podcast today. You can go ahead and check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Go ahead, check all that stuff out. If you're listening on a podcasting app, go ahead and jump over to our YouTube, and you can see our faces and stuff like that. But yeah, just please feel free to share and like and subscribe and do all that good stuff. But for now, it's been Bert.
And Trey, as always.
And we will catch you guys next time on the next episode of the Speak to the Sports podcast. Thank you.